California Governor Gavin Newsom says if President Trump has his way, there may not be an election in 2028. Newsom delivered that stark outlook at Politico's The California Agenda Sacramento Summit on Wednesday, where he warned that the country could soon slide into authoritarianism. Take a look.
I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
No, don't give me. You don't. Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house? So this is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No. This guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there? January 6th? He tried to light democracy on fire.
Die warm. Let's start here, because Newsom isn't pulling punches. He's not saying Trump might stretch the rules. He's saying, flat out, if this man gets his way, there may not even be an election in 2028. That's not hyperbole. That's not a California governor being dramatic. That's based on Trump's own words, his own actions, his own fantasies of clinging to power like a toddler holding on to his favorite toy. And yes, January 6th proved it. Trump tried to light democracy on fire. But think about what that really means. January 6th wasn't just a riot. It wasn't just some protest that got out of hand like Republicans want you to believe. It was an attempted coup. It was a sitting president telling his supporters, "Go stop Congress from certifying my loss." That's not democracy. That's dictatorship with extra steps. And let's not forget, even after all that, 147 Republicans in Congress still voted to overturn the election. You let that sink in. The fire alarm was pulled, the flames were licking the walls, and half the GOP said, "You know what? Let's just roast marshmallows." So when Newsom warns that Trump doesn't believe in elections, he's not speculating. He's reminding us of the track record. Trump lost and refused to accept it. He pressured officials in Georgia to find 11,680 votes. He filed dozens of frivolous lawsuits, and when none of that worked, he sent an armed mob to the Capitol, and the scary part, he's only gotten bolder since. The Trump campaign is now openly selling Trump 2028 hats. Think about that. This man hasn't even won 2024 yet. He is constitutionally banned from serving a third term, and he's all reeing up the crowd for it. That's not a campaign. That's a cult. That's not politics. That's prepping people for dictatorship.
The president's constitutionally barred from running for a third term. States run elections. Contrary to what he says, states are not agents of the federal government. And so he can't force any state to put him on the ballot.
Now, here's where the pundits and respectable conservatives chime in. They go, "Don't worry, the Constitution will protect us. States run elections. He can't actually do it." Really? The Constitution? You mean the same Constitution Trump already tried to terminate in a Truth Social post? The same Constitution Republicans treat like a Cheesecake Factory menu. Just pick and choose what you like? Let me remind you, the Constitution didn't stop Trump from putting kids in cages. It didn't stop him from using the DOJ as his personal legal team. It didn't stop him from stacking the Supreme Court with extremists who overturned Roe v. Wade after 50 years. The Constitution is only as strong as the people enforcing it. And let's be real. The modern GOP has zero interest in enforcing limits on Trump. They're too busy kissing his ring. It's like saying, "Don't worry, the fire code says you can't set the building on fire." Cool. But what happens? When the arsonist is already inside with a box of matches and the firefighters are cheering him on? That's where we are.
And let's remember, Trump is a gambler. Trump is a guy who has pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And by the way, if it had gone just slightly differently on January 6, 2021, and Congress refused to certify the election, Donald Trump would have returned to the White House.
This is the key to understanding Trump. He's not a genius. He's not 10 steps ahead on some political chessboard. He's a gambler, Gamblers don't care about odds. They don't care about rules. They just keep doubling down until something pays off. And for Trump, January 6th was just another roll of the dice. Think about it. He didn't need a perfect plan. He didn't need the courts to all go his way. He just needed a few key people to buckle. Mike Pence, a handful of state legislators, a couple of judges. And boom, the whole thing might have flipped. That's how close we were. We like to think of January 6th as a failed coup, but the only reason it failed is because just enough people, by sheer luck, said no. It wasn't inevitable. It wasn't guaranteed. It was a gamble that almost paid off. And gamblers, when they lose, they don't stop. They go back to the table. They bet bigger. They get riskier. That's exactly what Trump is doing. He's already setting the stage for 2024 and beyond. And if he pulls off another January 6th moment with slightly better luck, game over.
The Constitution is very clear about this: 2 terms, period. That's it. You're done. And yet, what we've seen, I think, is many times in the past we have said, or people have said, "Oh well, he's just trolling. He wouldn't actually follow through on X, Y, or Z." And then he has tried to follow through on X, Y, or Z. I remember the first term, people said, "Oh, he'll never try to overturn an election." Well, he did. He did try to overturn an election he had lost. Clearly, as he was told by his own attorney general, as he was told by his own campaign staff. And so, I do think we ought to be careful about ruling anything out in terms of things he might try if he sees an avenue forward to doing so. Now, again, it's hard to envision a plausible scenario for how it would work, but, right now you have troops in the streets of Washington, D.C. You have the President of the United States reinterpreting the 14th Amendment on birthright citizenship in a way that no other, no court has done in more than a century. He has time and time again shown a willingness to push the boundaries beyond the imagination because we're accustomed to what previous presidents did. And previous presidents understood the Constitution, understood the 22nd Amendment, and stepped down voluntarily without complaining after 2 terms. And here you've got a president who, we ought to be careful when he says something. Remember, he talked about terminating the Constitution.
Now, let's tackle the big question. Can Trump actually serve beyond 2028? Technically, no. The 22nd Amendment is clear. 2 terms max, period. But here's the thing. Technically doesn't mean much in Trump world. Technically, you can't use your charity to buy a giant portrait of yourself. Trump did it. Technically, you can't call foreign leaders to extort them for dirt on your opponents. Trump did it. Technically, you can't hoard classified documents in your bathroom. Trump did it. So, forgive me if I don't find, technically, he can't, all that comforting. Because Trump doesn't operate in technically. He operates in what can I get away with? And let's be real. So far, he's gotten away with a lot. Imagine this. Trump finishes his 2nd term in 2028. Instead of leaving, he files lawsuits. He pressures state officials. He floods right-wing media with conspiracy theories about why he deserves a 3rd term. He gets his cult followers to flood the streets, and he dares the system to stop him. Do you really trust this Supreme Court, the same one that gutted Roe, gutted voting rights, and handed corporations unlimited power, to hold the line? Do you really trust Republicans in Congress to say, "Sorry, Donald, rules are rules"? I don't, and that's the nightmare scenario.
United States. And he'll be sending them to voting booths and polling places all across this country.
Rick, do you think that's going to happen? Are we going to see Trump ramp up these deployments of the National Guard, ICE, DHS, the military during elections?
Look, I can't speak to that yet, but Trump enjoys the outrage it generates when he mobilizes federal forces onto the streets who are armed in environments where they're not trained to be for law enforcement purposes or immigration purposes. He enjoys that reaction. He is also, from the dictator's playbook, he wants to desensitize people to the presence of those folks out there all the time. He wants, ICE now has a bigger budget than the Marine Corps.
Now, this is where it gets real dark. Trump isn't just talking about ignoring elections. He's building the muscle to back it up. Think about what Newsom said. ICE has a bigger budget than the Marine Corps. Let me repeat that. The deportation. Police, not the military defending us from foreign enemies, but the deportation police, are funded like an army. And who controls them? Not governors, not states. Trump does. We already saw a preview in Portland when Trump sent unidentified federal agents to snatch protesters off the street in unmarked vans. That wasn't a glitch. That was a feature. It was a test run. Now, imagine 2028. Trump doesn't. Just joke about being a dictator for a day. He uses ICE, Border Patrol, and National Guard troops to monitor polling places in swing states. Picture armed men outside voting booths in black neighborhoods demanding papers from people just trying to vote. That's not security. That's intimidation. That's Jim Crow 2.0 with military funding. And here's the sick part. His. Supporters will cheer it on. They'll say, "Finally, someone's protecting elections." But who are they protecting them from? Voters. That's the whole point. Here's the deal. Trump isn't just another corrupt politician. He's a wannabe dictator who's telling us, out loud, repeatedly, exactly what he plans to do. And too many people are still shrugging it off like a joke. But democracies don't collapse because one man seizes power. They collapse because everyone else looks away. Because people say, "Relax, it can't happen here." Newsflash, it is happening here. It happened on January 6th. It happened when Trump tried to terminate the Constitution. It happened when he started selling Trump 2028 hats like elections are just merch drops. So the question isn't, can Trump do it? The question is, will we stop him before he tries again? Because if we don't, if we let this gambler roll the dice one more time, the House always wins.